Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. The client just wanted water, but was escorted out in handcuffs by the police. The second story. The chief threatened to fire me, but he was bluffing, so I quit on my own. The third story. Treat your employees like children and your customers like SH. Lose your entire sales team. The first story is another day, another 911 call. Alright, boys and girls, take a seat and grab some snacks. It's that time of the month where the police have to show up for one reason or another at my property. We'll start at the beginning. All is well. Only a few reservations and I haven't seen hardly any people today. That is until this guest came to the front desk with an empty water jug. So I took off my headphones, paused the video I was watching, and was ready to listen to what he had to say. He complained to me that he had been up in his room dying from thirst for the past 5 days. He didn't ask me anything at this point, so I was going to offer to fill up the jug of water with some tap water. Now here's the thing. I live in the PNW where the water in our city comes from a nearby lake, and it's perfectly safe to drink straight from the tap. No need to filter, but some people do because they don't like the taste. But he doesn't want tap water because he's dying. Before I even get the chance to ask what he wanted from me, or offer to get him water, he turns it into a personal attack on me and the owner of the hotel, who wasn't even there at the time. There wasn't a single break in his sentence from the moment he came down to do the desk. He tells me how horrible I am for letting an old man die from thirst, and not offer to get him water. He goes on telling me how I'm just a robot, and he goes on about how screwed up my generation is about not offering to get clean water for an elderly person, like they would have done 4,000 years ago. He tells me how horrible this place is, and how the owner is stealing from a dying man. And that he sees right through me. He tells me that he knows I think I'm smarter than him, but I'm not. And that the owner of the hotel is not my friend, and he's trying to do me a favor. She's a super nice old Korean lady, as long as you aren't on her bad side, by giving me another chance. Now, not once has he asked me for anything, or even told me what exactly he wanted. He had told me that he didn't want tap water. Alright, so he wants some filtered water. Well, the good news is we have a pitcher with one of those fancy filters on it. Nope. After I finally pounded in his thick head by asking what he wants like 5 times between rants, he tells me that he wants me to take this jug, go over to the store, and buy him the exact jug of water. I tell him that's not a service we provide and I can't leave the property. He tells me that it's not his problem. Along this whole thing, he keeps talking like someone else is listening. He'll ignore me to look off to the side of me and talk like I'm not there. He insinuates multiple times that this will be on YouTube, and they will take his side, and my life will be over. Oh no, whatever shall I do? Despite the lack of camera or phone visible on his person. A guest comes down and that's where the breaking point is. He starts loudly yelling that I'm letting an old man die by charging him for water, and how poorly he's being treated by this place. Guest gives him a strange look and goes on his way. I tell this nutcase that he needs to pack his stuff and leave or I'll call the police. He tells me that the police will take his side because he's a crippled old man, and that I'll ruin my life. Aight, so I go to call the police. He then begs me to please not call the police and all he wants is some water. While I'm on the line with the dispatcher, he starts screaming, "Help, help, they're killing me." I have to ask the dispatcher to repeat some stuff because I can't hear what she's saying over him. After I hang up, he tells me that he was only screaming to get them to believe him and get me arrested, and that I threw away the chance he gave me and my life was over. At this point, I've marked him as DNR and brought up his ID and everything. The officers will ask me for this stuff, so I'll need it for later. I'm just ignoring him and go back to Reddit until the police show up. Thankfully, they show up in under 5 minutes. 2 of them walk in and he shifts to a whole new person. Not angry or yelling at all. The officer wants the guy to talk to his partner while he gets my side of the story. Immediately, he goes into the officers the same way he did into me. He refuses to cooperate, and finally, after trying to get the guy to leave the lobby, the officer takes me aside to talk to me. I explain what happened. While this is going on, the other officer is trying to pull me outside, and the guy won't budge. Then the guy says the magic words, "Just SH me," while the officer is trying to calm him down. Dude is put in cuffs immediately and taken out of the squad car, all while speaking to a non-existent viewer off to my side, like this is all being filmed by a bystander. I mean, it is being filmed by our security cameras, but that's not where the camera is. They put him out there and I give the officer the dude's name and everything on file, because he isn't telling them. I finally call the manager to see what he wants to do, and he comes out real quick and just goes along with what I said, and we're having him trespass for 3 months, and he's going to the DNR list too. Manager told me and the police that the guy is an a-hole and went off on him once before, but the guy left it pretty quick, and so he didn't get any eviction or anything. That guy got himself a shiny pair of bracelets, an eviction, and a trip to the hospital for a mental eval. While all was said and done, I made myself some tea and went to the back to do some push-ups because I had a lot of adrenaline in my system. I didn't really feel threatened by this guy, but it's people like this that are the reason I have a bottle of mace on my keychain. In case someone wants it, here's some proof, with said water jug on the counter, which I did smash and throw into the dumpster out back. The second story is, my chief is firing me for no reason. For context, I work at a small family-owned restaurant where both owners are every day. There are only 6 servers the entire restaurant has, and I've been working here for almost 2 years. I'm now head server. One day I had 3 servers scheduled. One called out due to missing her flight to come back in town. She tried to find coverage from the other 3 servers who weren't on the schedule, in which they declined or didn't respond. I come in for my shift knowing she won't be there, and we have about 60 heads on the books, but it's spread out and something I can handle. I say hello to him when I come in, and it seems that he's upset that nobody could come in to cover for her, but it seems as if he's mad at me. The host we currently have doesn't listen, and they were waiting to fire her until after the holidays. At first it's okay, then she begins seating endlessly without asking me if we need a wait. I'm drowning. I have a 10-top, a 6-top, the bar, and like 3 other tables. I had someone in the bar waiting for me to take their to-go, but I couldn't because I was being seated constantly. The other server had a contracted party, so she was consumed with that. I take the order for my 10-top, and then my chef comes over in a super rude tone, asking why there aren't drinks on the tables check. We make our own drinks. I tell him I'll take the check myself because I'm headed to the computer anyways, and we only have 2 computers. He yells at me on the floor saying that's not what he asked me. I'm already super overwhelmed with a million things in my head. He says I have to be kidding him, and goes back into the kitchen. Later that night, I ask my coworker why he's in such a horrible mood. She says probably regarding a review that was just posting, saying that I'm amazing and he's horrible. Basically, they said they saw him mistreating us, that he needs to apologize to his staff. The person then posted a private message interaction between the both of them from Yelp, where he said he was glad that they loved blank, and she ignored my orders to call somebody in, and ignored orders to be put on a wait, both of which I did not do. The next day I come in and it's weird vibes. I start making the schedule for the following week. The other owner is watching me as I make the schedule and asks me what I'm doing. I tell her I'm writing the schedule and she asks me, "Are you sure you're not writing a review?" implying I wrote the review that was left. Keep in mind it was written while I was in the depths of the weeds, so it wouldn't even be possible. As the chef/owner is walking by me making it in the dining room, he stops what he's doing to yell at me and tell me I will not be making the schedule, and that he will be taking over the scheduling, and now become the GM/front house manager to help us. And it'll be out tomorrow. I then head over to tell the others about this. He hears me and comes over and yells at me and starts to say he asked I put the schedule out earlier. It's right before Christmas, so I don't want to quit, and right before rent is due. He comes out the schedule and ignored my availability. He also wrote the server who missed her flight and called off the schedule. I went on Indeed and saw an ad for hiring 2 servers at my restaurant. The both of the owners completely stopped talking to me. I feel as if I'm going to be fired. Should I quit or wait to be fired? Update. I talked to the owner/chef today, and led by telling him how disrespectful he was, and how wrong it was on how he treated me. He called me a spoiled brat and said that I gave him and the other owner attitude, and then I was accused of leaving 3 reviews in a row. He said it's hard to believe that someone would leave rave reviews about me being so good, but always said that there was something wrong with the food. Asked him when he planned on firing me. He bluffed and lied and said he wasn't. I couldn't even get my point across because I just kept being insulted, and told that I take no accountability. I stopped going back and forth, got my money and walked out. Didn't tell him I quit because I don't owe him the luxury. He can find out when I don't show up. Cheers. The next story. Entire sales team walked right out the door. Just as the title states, the entire sales team of my old company quit yesterday. I wish things had been different, but this was a long time coming and it had to happen. Let me start with the good things. When I first started working there, I immediately took a liking to the entire team. It was a pretty small remote company, and we were all very nice and helpful to each other. The work was right up my alley and I became very good at it. The customers were also very nice people, and my teammates and I developed a genuine appreciation for a lot of them. Things were great for a while. There was only one problem. Our boss was a young rich guy whose entire personality consisted of little manipulative techniques he had read about in his little sales books. In his mind, he was like Jordan Belfort, an absolute master of sales. In reality, he was incredibly rude, highly unlikable individual, who somehow thought he was better than everybody else. He had so few redeeming qualities that one day my sister asked me, What TV character would you compare him to? And my response was, even villains have good traits like charisma or coolness. They would never put such an unlikable character on TV. Yeah. He was extremely rude to prospects and customers alike, cutting them off, criticizing them, and insulting their methods. There wasn't a single call in which the customer wouldn't raise issues with his personality and lack of professionalism. My teammates and I got emailed 30+ times saying they had liked our product, but refused to work with us if our boss was involved. In the worst case scenarios, when our prospective customers were from a certain part of the world, they would be treated as international spies who wanted to steal our designs. And oh yeah, in my short time there, he fired the very few women left, and there was not a single woman in the entire team. So aside from being racist, he was sexist too. Furthermore, he would only hire employees in lower income countries, so he could get away with underpaying and manipulating them financially, me being one of them. He would give you completely unattainable goals that you had working like a dog for 4 years, before you reached the goal he promised within the first 6 months. He would also tell us to trust his word that we would get a raise, and that we should just keep working. Well, his word was that of a snake MF, and not to be trusted. The final straw came for me last week. Even though I had been exceeding this month's sales quota by the second week, he insisted that he be in all my meetings so that he could teach me, and that he wanted to be on top of me and the rest of the sales team. In the very first meeting that happened, the customer told him he was being extremely rude, and we lost the sale. That, coupled with the fact that my path to a raise was entirely dependent upon getting these sales, and now I would have this rude A-B boy sitting in on all of them, and likely taking my commissions, was enough for me to get the heck out of there. It was also incredibly hard to get paid to start with, each month being a whole new battle for your salary, and commissions for the whole team. I honestly would have loved working there had it not been for him, and a part of me thinks that if I had just stuck it out, things would have gotten better. But that's the thing about master manipulators. They make you feel as if you'll be okay if you just let them abuse you a little more. One more punch and you'll be alright, or beatings will continue until morale improves. Well, F that, and FMII, old boss. And the last story is, was forced to do a task, got my entire chain of command fired. I've been serving in a certain military branch for 5 years, and I'm nearing the end of my contract, so the give-a-care is completely gone. I'm in charge of inventory of specific pieces of equipment, smaller pieces that are used by many people at my job. From time to time, these pieces disappear. Most of the time, that just means things are misplaced, but we just got out of a certain period where we had many hired contractors at our job that tend to take things. Now, every once in a while, we conduct an inventory of these pieces of equipment for accountability reasons. When we lose things, it looks very bad on my work, more specifically bad on my bosses. So I prepared the inventory and was startled by the amount of missing pieces. I did everything I needed to do and presented the inventory to my boss. He didn't believe we had so many pieces missing and asked for me to inventory them again. So I did. I got the same number and put the inventory in his inbox. Few months go by and I get the same thing. There can't be that many. Do another one. So I'm very compliant and do it again and again and again. This gets dragged on over a year and I'm starting to notice something. My boss is about to leave soon and he is deliberately pushing this off to the next guy to cover himself. So last week I was sleeping since I work nights and I'm woken up. My boss tells me I have to do a specific survey with my coworkers that will get sent up to the head honcho. This survey allows the small guy to have a voice directly to the top. I tell him that I have the night watch, but he doesn't care and demands I go and do this survey. Fine. Before the survey starts, our boss tells us we need to be completely honest, and all these surveys are anonymous. Rad. I wrote down what had been happening with the inventory and directed where they could find the documentation of the done inventories. Fast forward to yesterday. All my bosses are fired, and now I'm reporting to new people who are now fixing the issues with the inventory. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.